again on the Tamiya Ducatti 1/24th scale motorcycle, and specifically the adding the detail from this kit to the model. And this is part 2 of another video that I made a while back. So continuing on, right now it is parts that will replace this single piece with multiple pieces like this, and also the metal versions of the rotors. So right now I'm adding the pieces from the photo etch to give it more detail, and also to give it more thickness so that it replicates the plastic version more closely. Right now I'm just putting these little rivets basically back into the bag. Those were the super tiny. You can see them, they're probably super hard to tell or see in the bag, but anyway, they're super small, and they go into small holes and replicate kind of bolts that would be there normally on the bike. So now I am taking, I'm working on this part here, in particular kind of the lower, right in there. It's again building or constructing the front rotor assemblies, brake rotor assemblies for the motorcycle. And I'm adding these 3 tiny circles there. You probably can't see them very well. That's 1, 2, and 3. They stack up to make a taller kind of piece that sticks up to again replicate the plastic version. So when this is all put together, it fits into the front tire and rim assembly of the bike in between the forks, and we'll in the end we'll make it look a lot more realistic, even though again it's a model. So that is what we're doing right now. There's more parts that have kind of assembled themselves, or not assembled themselves, but have been put together. It's the top half, the engine, and the kind of top half of the shroud. This is radiators, and this kit that I bought, the detail kit, has metal inserts that go over top the radiator to make them look more realistic. There's also the chain that is in the process of being assembled, and here's the rear rotor assembly. You can see it has even the speed sensor ring around it, that tiny ring, and you can see the rotors, see through the rotors and the holes. So that's what we're doing now. So it's this piece here, and you can see the silver part, and we're going to glue 3 of these really tiny pieces all on top of each other, kind of in the center of that, to build it up, and again basically replicating this piece here, that part there. It's hard to see, maybe the center part here. Anyway, we will do that now. using the Scion Accolade Max Secure, which works very well with the metal parts. And then using toothpick to apply the glue, so I'm not putting a bunch, or trying not to put a bunch. It is just enough to kind of glue these little rings down and not glue everything together. And let me put this post in here. Makes it a little easier to align everything. It's basically a jig I made. You can see here with a post. And I just drop this ring over top and slide it down. And the hope is that it lines up over the center that way. Pushing down the tweezers. And the big thing is that you don't glue it to the post. Okay, so that's one out of three. So we repeat this once more. Let's take this post out. Just so I have less in the way when I'm gluing. Sorry if I'm speaking quiet and you can't hear me. I'm not wearing the earbuds this time to talk into. The way to center it is just using the toothpick, using the point. It works double, it aligns it and actually pushes it in at the same time. And I just messed it up, just moving it a little. So you can kind of see, well, maybe not, you can almost see. It's that little silver in the center of the black that we're building up. Again, they're basically little tiny washers that stack on top of each other. And in the end, we'll make a post that again will stick into the front wheel assembly. So one more. Okay. That was almost bad. Almost dropped it on the floor. I've been trying very hard not to do that because I'm in the garage and it will almost not be able to find it for sure if it goes on the floor. So let's try this again. There. And there. Alright, looks pretty good alignment-wise. So the last thing I'll do is, this is the Instacure for the Scionic Accolade type of glue. Put some of that on there and harden everything up. Only do that when you're done. Otherwise, if you do it in between stages, it hangs around in the metal, and the next time you try to glue something on top, the glue will harden almost right away, and you won't be able to glue pieces together. Flat, that is, because I've done that already. Hopefully this isn't totally boring for everybody. All two of you that are watching. One that's watching. Alright, now next stage is to take these two pieces and glue them together so that, let's make sure that I get them aligned right, so they become one piece like that. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to paint these. So that right there, and this is typically how I paint them. Actually, I'll use these here. This should work. Allows me to hold them kind of out of the way and paint them. Spray paint, that is. I'm painting them this. I'll try and take the camera out with me so you can watch me spray paint, because that's really super exciting. Hands to do all this. Wasn't that exciting? Alright, back over to now. We set these into my foam table that I'm using here. That works pretty well. Grab this out of the cup. I'm using it as my foam holder. So you can see the table. It's basically high density foam, and it allows me to basically be able to stick these toothpick and alligator clip types of holders straight into the surface, along with kind of making my construction surface that much larger. Alright, so next, while those dry, I think I need to paint another piece. Over here. And the piece I need is this piece here, right there. So we're going to cut it out. Cut it out, file it, get it nice and smooth, and then spray paint it. Didn't cut it all the way through. There we go. Okay. Let me put some of this stuff back away so I don't lose it onto the floor. Alright. Other thing important to not do is put my elbow into the glue. Alright, so there's just little burrs on top here, and I'm taking a small file and filing them down so it's smooth to the touch. Do I need to do that? Not necessarily, but might as well, since going to the effort of trying to make this more detailed and as close to a real one as we can, even though it's still a model. So yeah, this needs to be painted. So I stick it on this one. You see it's a piece of tape basically holding the piece there, and I will be right back and do some more painting with it. Alright, so there we go. You can see it's painted. Basically, it's disappeared on the piece of tape, which just means it's got paint on it. And it's a semi-gloss black, which is what it calls for painting the centers of these things. So, let's see what we do next. That ring needs to dry, so I will what to do. This is one of the mufflers, and I need to add a little bit more paint to it, but I need to basically tape off this area so I can paint the silver. And see, this end I already did because I messed up, so I had to repaint it, and I was hoping I could get away with only part of it, but I don't know if you can see there's kind of a line, so I just used some paper towel to kind of hide the bottom part. Anyway, there's kind of a line that runs where there's kind of more paint, newer paint, and kind of the older paint, so you can see it in the paint. So I am going to tape off the darker area so I can repaint the chrome, or silver leaf actually is what the paint's called. And you can watch me do that if you'd like. All I'm doing is kind of tearing, this is blue painter's tape, basically tearing it into smaller strips because the curve of this kind of paint line isn't straight, so you need smaller pieces in order to kind of go around the curve that it has, and hopefully mask it up enough that I don't have to kind of keep repainting this in circles. I keep going in circles and having to repaint the parts that I mess up on and continue to paint over and repaint and repaint and repaint. So hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully everybody's enjoying it. The feed, that is. Welcome to the channel, all those that are joining. Hopefully you learn something from this, or it at least occupies your time somehow. The most important thing with all this is getting the tape down, sealed, so that you don't get any areas where it runs underneath the tape, and then cause more problems and have to kind of continue to repaint in circles and circles because it didn't seal very well. Almost there. Let's just do one more piece. This piece, small piece. If any of you do model, you know that there is, Tamiya makes kind of like very thin modeling tape. It kind of comes in small strips, almost like what you would use on an automotive to do pinstriping or something like that. I don't have that, so I'm using the blue tape, which isn't necessarily the best way to do it, but it works so far most of the time. Just push the tape back. And I think we're close. Since I don't think I'm going to spray that, I'm going to just put tape across the back anyway. Just trying to cover all the exposed surfaces if I can. So again, I don't have to continue to repaint the darker color. Alright, that looks okay. Let's paint it up and see what happens. Again, this is repainting based on messing up when I did the darker color. And this is just to make the paint, the silver, kind of blend in more. So I will be right back. Alright, there is that one. You probably can't tell other than maybe the tape is just colored a little more from the spray paint. Alright, so we will let that dry and see how that comes out. What I'll do now is this one here, other exhaust pipe, this area kind of right in here, right in there, needs to be black. So I will do that now while other stuff dries. Just figure out what color black. So semi-gloss. Oops. So this here. Put these pieces away. All right, and paintbrush. There we go. So now, important thing here is don't dump over the paint or put the paint in the glue. Alright, paintbrush. Oh, I should actually see, is that? That's good, okay. This paint hasn't sat very long, but sometimes if the paint's been sitting, it's good to mix it with a stir stick. Big thing here again is not to paint over the other areas that I just finished repainting. So a steady hand, which almost messed up. And be careful not to put your fingers in the paint. In the part you just freshly painted, that is. Ooh. Not too bad. This brush might be too heavy, too big for this small painting I'm doing, and I don't have anything tinier, do I? Actually. That one would probably be better. So let's clean this brush and use the other brush. Okay, I'm back. Let me put this brush away and use a smaller one. See if that will help me get a better coverage. It's not bad. Part of the trouble is that the darker color on here is they call it gunmetal, so it's a dark gray, and then I'm painting black on top of the dark gray, so it's hard to see, even with the light kind of shining on it, the areas that I've painted and haven't painted. Okay, well, there, which you probably can't see much. Anyway, so it's black now. The brush worked a little better. So once this one dries, this one here dries, and I can do the same thing on that one. And it's one step closer to completing the model. So hopefully you've enjoyed a little piece of modeling for today. Hopefully you enjoyed everything. All 2 of you watching and 4 likes. Okay, bye.